Hey everybody, this is Steve from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews. Now, I'm trying something a little different. I've got a new microphone, so hopefully this comes... I've done some tests, quick test, so hopefully it all comes through really well. And I don't have to wear the headphones anymore, so we'll see how that goes. It's a pretty good sized week. And there's also some catch-up books that we need to hit from like last week and even a couple weeks back. There was just some things that I missed along the road. Happens. So we'll kind of catch up with those series. And so let's get going. First up, we have X-Men #1, written by Jed MacKay with artwork by Ryan Stigman. Okay, so this is post-Krakoa era. So what this is they're launching a bunch of new X-Men group titles. This is the first one of the bunch. This is like I said, this is the post-Hickman thing. So the theory on these is that these are new reader friendly. You don't have to really know about the Krakoa thing. They give you a little explanation. Okay, they lived on Krakoa. Now they're all living somewhere else. So what this is Cyclops' team, which includes Beast, Magneto, Psylocke, Kid Omega, Tempe, Magic, and Jargonaut. And so what their base is in Alaska. And so what it is there's two kind of storylines going on. That Beast is there to show the local sheriff, hey, you know, we're here in this facility, you know, we want to be friends. But we also find out that facility was making Sentinels. And so, they have to, you know, balance of like, they're pissed because the town was making them, but they understand that the town, you know, needed jobs and stuff. So there's that storyline. Then the other side, storyline going on is, Cyclops taking the team to go rescue Wolverine that's been captured. So there's that going on. So it's kind of a setup issue. I think overall I did like the first issue. I wasn't the hugest fan of Jonathan Hickman's run on X-Men, but I did appreciate what he did with it. He kind of tried to, shake things up. I think the question with all these books is going to be where are they going to go? And I think the one thing that I hope for is let them be individual books. Let them, so like if I like this book, I just want to keep going with this book and I don't have to read like 5 other books. So that I think is really going to be the big key to the success of these X-Men books is let them be their own thing. Let the writers and the artists do their own thing. MacKay's script is good. I think, he does a good balance of capturing, the action with the exposition. He's trying to explain things. And then I will say that Ryan Stigman's artwork is really, really nice. It's a really good looking book. And so it's off to a good start. So we'll kind of see where the rest of these regular series, not miniseries, land. So we'll kind of keep going. But I did like what I read, and I think it's worth checking out. Next up, we have Action Comics number 1067, with the main story written by Gail Simone and pencils by Eddie Barrows, with inks by Danny Mickey and Jonas Trinidad. And then there's a backup Lois and Clark story written by Rainbow Rao, with artwork by Kane Tormey. So the basic premise here is that Superman, Lois, and Jimmy go to interview this facility for inner city kids, and because they find out that somebody is trying to buy the land and turn it into like condos, and kick the kids out. And so while they're there, these aliens show up, and what it is they challenge Superman to an arena, to save Earth, basically. And so in a lot of ways, the story kind of reminded me of Superman, Muhammad Ali, story from the 70s that Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams did. And it really kind of had that feeling, but it kind of had a good fresh, spin on it and everything. I did like this first story that Gail Simone wrote. It kind of just feels like classic Superman, like it's just kind of a simple story, and I really like that. And it just, you know, she did a great job with the characters and everything. This is her first time writing Superman as a main character, and I really liked it. And the really big win for this is Eddie Burrows' artwork, which is just fantastic. It's really gorgeous looking. Like I said, it's just a fun story. You know, you don't have to worry about a bunch of continuity. If you haven't been reading Action Comics, you're totally fine. She sets up the story really well, sets up the situation, and then, you know, and it leaves a nice cliffhanger for it. The backup by Raul and Tormey is, so Lois is now the editor-in-chief of the Daily Planet because Perry's running for mayor. And so, you know, it's always been that Clark usually gets the Superman story. Gee, I can't imagine why. And so, you know, and also Lois is, you know, not feeling being the editor-in-chief. So there's that going on. And so what it is so, you know, Clark goes off to be Superman to tackle a thing, and she ends up giving the story to a new reporter. And Clark's a little bit like, really? You know, so that's kind of an interesting story. It's a neat take on the Lois and Clark dynamic. Like I said, you know, it's only the first part, but it's off to a good start. Raul's script is good, and then Tormey's art is really nice. So I was really excited about Gail coming onto the book, and I think she's really done a great job. So it'll be interesting to see I don't know how long she's staying on the book, but I do like what she's doing here. So definitely well worth picking up. Next up, we have From the World of Minor Threats, Barfly, with the script by Kyle Starks, and then the story plot by Kyle Starks, Patton Oswalt, and Jordan Bloom, and then the artworks by Ryan Brown. So this spins out of the Minor Threats, and the basic premise of that was it was a story about henchmen. And so what it was is in the background, there was this character. His name's not Barfly. It's actually called Shit Eater because he's a fly. He's kind of like a human fly. And so he was actually a henchman of the entomologist who is now in jail. So Shit Eater basically works. He has to work at this Burger Bites. And, you know, the irony of a fly flipping burgers is kind of weird and disgusting. And so, you know, he's paid under the table. He's treated like crap because he can't get a regular job because he's not like a real person. So he decides to go on these two other henchmen decide to rob like a mafia, like a storefront that's money laundering. And so they take Barfly because they know, or Shit Eater, so they can get in there, and then they basically leave him, and it's just really wild. I really like this. I mean, it's very much Kyle Starks. I'm a really big fan of Kyle Starks' writing. And Ryan Brown, you definitely know from 8 Billion Genies, which was a really amazing series. He's just a really great artist. It's really fun. The other interesting thing is that Shit Eater doesn't talk. So what they do a couple times is they'll add like an expression so you know kind of what he's quote unquote saying. And then probably the most interesting thing is there's a really smart move by Starks. He actually goes to the zoo because there's this a giant bug that was captured, and they can actually talk to each other. So there's story elements there that are introduced because they're talking to each other, so you're able to understand it. So that was a really smart move on Stark's part. I really enjoyed this book, and the good thing is you don't have to have read Minor Threats. This definitely stands on its own. Now, it is part of that universe, and I would say if you like this, you should probably check out Minor Threats, which was actually a pretty darn good miniseries. But you can totally read this on its own. And once again, I go back to Brown's artwork, which is really just perfect for this series. Now, obviously, he knows how to draw a bar, which Barfly goes into. And it really is good. It's well worth checking out. I really enjoyed this first issue and excited to see where it goes. Next up, we have Ultimates #2, written by Denzi Camp. With artwork by Juan Frigeri. So this one, so what it is the maker has changed the world so where there's no superheroes. So Tony Stark's son gets this new group of Avengers together, which includes Steve Rogers, Reed Richards, Ant-Man and Wasp and a bunch of others. And so what it is, the America's been turned into like a communist state in some respects. It's right. Everything's run by the government in the sense of there's no democracy anymore. So they go to the White House and they find out that, that the president is wearing the original Iron Man suit and is using America to power most of the United States. So they go in, to basically try to start democracy again, and it goes well, but then there's kind of things that go along with it that kind of changes the story. Now, I wasn't the biggest fan of the first issue, and I think the second issue was a little bit better, but it just seemed kind of okay. And I never read the original Ultimates. I know I need to. It's one of my few blind spots. But I think that, it's not that the book's bad. I don't think the book is bad at all. I think it's just okay. It's a nice story and everything, and it's, moves along fairly well. I mean, Camp Script is fine. It's just like, okay, that's nice. It just didn't do anything beyond that. Ferrighi's artwork is pretty decent. There's times where there's not so many backgrounds, and, I'm a big stickler for that. But for me, it just ends up being okay. It's not like a terrible book. I don't think it's a really fantastic book. I think it's okay. So it's just one of those things that's like, if you like it, great. If not, but I can't really give it a huge recommendation because it's just, with so many books coming out, I just find it okay. I still think Ultimate X-Men by Mariko Tamaki is by far the best of this bunch. So that's the one to get for me. But Ultimates 2 is kind of okay. It's moving along, but it's just kind of, I like I said, if you weren't impressed by the first issue, I don't think the second issue is going to convince you to change your mind. Next up, we have Grommets #2, written by Rick Remender and Brian Posen, with artwork by Brett Parson. Now, this came out a little while back, but I did miss it, but I did want to catch up on it because I did like the first issue. So the story is about Rick, this new kid that comes to Sacramento. He runs into Brian, a fellow skateboarder. He lives with his grandpa, and he's kind of, I don't want to say he's a loser, but his mom, Rick meets his mom for the first time, and she says, well, I'll be, I'll know you when I pick you up from, juvenile when you guys get arrested. So his mom doesn't think highly of Brian. And so they go out. Now in the first issue, Brian took a big header at the skate park, but they don't really deal with that, which was kind of a little weird. So I'm assuming that this is, months later after that incident. So they don't really deal with that, which was a little odd. I don't think it was terrible, but it was just a little odd. So in this issue, they go to the Taco Bell to have lunch. And then they meet the Jens. There's these 3 girls named Jen, and they're also skateboarders, and there's a lot of great conversation, which I don't want to ruin here. They end up going to a parking structure to do the skateboarding from the top down, and a guard catches them. One of the Jens beats them up with her skateboard. And then after they escape that, they almost get run over by these guys that are yelling at them to get off the road in the skateboards. There's a lot of going on in this issue. It's really interesting. I do really like the book. I think, it's set in, I believe, 1985. So it's set in the 80s, and there's a lot of obviously 80s references and stuff, but not too much. I think it's really interesting. I like that they're building the characters. Like I said, I think it's a little weird that they didn't really acknowledge kind of what happened to Brian in the first issue, which is a little weird. Once again, not fatal, just a little weird. But introducing the Jens was kind of an interesting thing. I guess we'll kind of see what happens with the third issue, to where, if these are going to kind of just be little individual issues, or they're going to kind of, move move the story forward. I mean, the story does move forward. It just, we're kind of still introducing characters. Parsons' artwork is really nice. Really reminds me of like, classic like EC Mad artist, Mort Drucker, Jack Davis, kind of like in that vein. I really like the art. The art was really wonderful. I really like that first issue's art, and I continue to really just be impressed by it. I still think it's well worth checking out. And like I said, I know it came out a few weeks ago, but still well worth picking up. Next up, we have From the DC Vaults, Death in the Family, Robin Lives, #1, written by J.M. DeMatteis, with artwork by Rick Leonardi. So this is kind of a, what if type story. So in 1988, fans voted for whether Robin, at the time Jason Todd, would live or die, and they voted for him to die. So he died, and then of course we had many more Robins down the road. So this story had Robin lived, what would that story be after it? And so how this starts off is that Joker has been shot and is dead. So there's that kind of mystery of, the murder mystery of Joker that's going on. But really it's also about Jason Todd trying to, exorcise his demons of the Joker nearly killing him. So, he's kind of mentally messed up and everything, and Bruce is trying to help him, but, Bruce doesn't kind of have really the tools in some ways. He's more Batman than Bruce sometimes, and now he's struggling to help Jason, which is kind of interesting. This is an interesting story. I didn't know that it necessarily blew me away. Like I said, this first issue is a lot of setup, so we'll kind of see where the second issue goes. I do like Leonardi's art. He kind of, has that kind of classic 80s, 90s, style, which is really perfect for the story because it's kind of fitting into it. It was kind of okay. I think it was interesting enough to check out a second issue, so we'll kind of see where that goes. But if you are intrigued by the story, I think it's worth reading. But I think we're going to see where this is going to kind of go post, kind of in the second issue. Where is DeMatteis and Leonardi going to, take this story? So that's where that is. Next up, we have All the Things We Didn't Do Last Night, one shot, written and drawn by Maria Lovelet. So what this collects, there were 3 short stories that were done in the Image 30th anniversary and be reprinted in this. And so it's a really standalone story. And so what it is Mammon she works at a museum, and they're having a big thing, and we find out that she's a jewelry thief, so she's actually stealing some of the stuff. And then she runs into Damon, who is a hitman, who is there's a guy that's sponsoring the museum that he's Damon sent to kill for the hitman. So they inadvertently run into each other. And so what the basic premise is here is that he kills his mark, she steals it, and then the cops come and they basically lie for each other, kind of what they did last night, which is a total lie. And it's really interesting. It's nice that it's a one and done story. I mean, it was 3 separate parts, but it's complete here. And it's an interesting character study. And it's, as we know, Lovitz, does very sexy stories. And this, this definitely, is kind of like very much in that vein, but I did like it. And like I said, if you missed the, Image 30th anniversary, it's a nice, one and done type story. She does say in the back that, like, if she comes up with more stories for these characters, she has some ideas, but this is a self-contained story. So, and I'm a big fan of hers. I love her artwork. I think it's well worth checking out, especially if you missed the Image 30th anniversary books. Next up, Monsters Are My Business, #4, written by Colin Bunn, with artwork by Patrick Piazzalunga. I finally got it, Patrick. I messed it up the first issue, and Patrick was very kind in helping me. He sent me an audio recording of how to pronounce his last name. So thank you again, Patrick. I really, what this is, so Grizz, so what it is there's this mutant monster that is able to talk to basically, the demon lord, i.e., like God. And so, the government wants it, the Howling Gang, Gargoyle wants it. And so Grizz, is kind of caught in the middle because he's trying to protect this, creature, this special mutated creature that can talk to God. And so, Grizz kind of, after the demon lord is brought here, he basically, well, I'll make a deal with you. And then he decides to say, well, I'm not going to make a deal with you. And then, so he has to deal with that. And so the government and, the Howling Gargoyles still want the mutant that can talk to the demon lord. So, and then, of course, the gang is run by his ex-girlfriend, who's kind of like this spider creature. So I don't want to give too much away, but it has a really good, solid ending. They really stick, Bun and Piazzalunga really stick the ending to this. There's action in this, but it's kind of like, what I like about it, it does kind of end, and then there's like an epilogue to it. And I do like when stories end like that, because it gives you, it's not just, oh, well, everything's fine and dandy now. It actually gives you a closure to the mutant creature and, how basically Grizz saved him, but also how, kind of the aftermath of all the stuff that's happened. And it really is a good ending. I really enjoyed this series. I know it's going to be tough to like pick it up, but I'm sure that the trade's going to come out in a few months. So I would say definitely look for the trade when it comes out, because I really like the story, and Piazzalunga's artwork is really fabulous. This is a really good looking book. I really liked it. It was a fun story with really nice artwork. So definitely check it out when the trade comes out. Next up, we have Domain #1, written by Chip Zdarsky with artwork by Rachel Stott. So what this is, this comes out of Chip Zdarsky's creator-owned book, Public Domain. And what that is the guy who created Public Domain basically got he was able to get the comics rights back from the company that owned, they made movies and stuff out of the characters of Domain. And so what it is he's gotten the rights back, and him and his two sons, along with a couple other people, are starting a new comic. So in the issue that came out recently, it shows them creating this new comic, and the new girl saying, hey, we should actually create some new characters, and try to entice new readers, not just, the readers that have been reading it for like 500 years. And so what this book is that particular story that she suggests. Now, the story is basically these three characters. There's Liz, Max, and Dez. They're friends, and they go out stargazing, and they discover a crashed spaceship. And one of the aliens have these like bracelets that gives the characters superpowers. But the problem is they can all wear the bracelets, but only one person at a time can have the powers. So that's kind of an interesting twist. And it's really kind of interesting. I mean, I say it would help if you've read Public Domain. You kind of get the premise of this. But on the other hand, this book does stand on its own. You don't have to have read the Public Domain book to read Domain. It does stand on its own, but it does, it gives you a nice twist of where he's going. And Stott's artwork is really nice here. Does a really good job. It's interesting. It's going to be a mini series. I think it's like 3-4 issues. But definitely, I would really recommend checking out Public Domain. I really like that book. And when you read that, you can read this. But if you like this, you know, if you haven't read Public Domain, I think it gives you a bit of a taste, even though it's very different, but it does give you kind of what Zdarsky's doing with that whole kind of universe. So, it's worth checking out this week. I did like it. It's more superhero than Public Domain. Domain is basically kind of dialogue, you know, people stand around talking, which is not a bad thing. It's more of a character study, where this is like pure, more superhero-ish type stuff. So that's kind of the difference between the two. Next up, we have Get Fury, number 3, written by Garth Ennis with artwork by Jason Burrows. Nick Fury has been taken to the Hanoi Hilton, which is basically a torture prison. And so Frank Castle has been sent to kill him. But what the story goes of why they sent Castle into it is that the CIA is running drugs out of the Vietnam War, and Fury discovered what was going on. So he was trying to, you know, he inadvertently got captured, and then they're like, well, he might spill the beans on it and everything. You know, that's kind of the basic story. So Frank's trying to get into the Hanoi Hilton, and he also discovers that he's not the only one looking for Nick. So that is really kind of a neat twist on that. I mean, this is kind of a middle issue. You know, it's still laying, you know, out the story and everything. But I do really like this book. It's really interesting how Ennis is you know, setting this in Vietnam and everything. And there's a lot of spinning plates in this, but I do like it. And I also like that it's Frank Castle, but not per se the Punisher. It's kind of early, you know, before he becomes the Punisher. And Burroughs' artwork is really, really nice. I'm really digging this book. You know, if you're a fan of Garth Ennis's stuff, this is well worth checking out. And it's a really neat story with really nice artwork. Next up, we have Gotham by Gaslight, The Kryptonian Age, number 2, written by Andy Diggle, with artwork by Leonardo Fernandez. So it's interesting. So in the first issue, so somebody's trying to find kryptonite, and so we see Batman and Catwoman, because she set it up to try to get the museum piece, the kryptonite piece. So there's that, and at the end, Batman is on a subway, top of a subway, battling Talia al Ghul. So we know that she's obviously they're looking for the kryptonite. But this issue really is kind of interesting. So it finishes kind of the Talia thing. Then we get kind of a couple other stories going on that. So we have Adam Strange is in the Antarctic, looking for this Kryptonian ruins. So there's that story going on. Then we also go to Britain, where John Constantine and Queen Victoria are involved in something, you know. So this is all kind of leading to the Kryptonian, you know, part of the story. So we're leading into that. And also, a little bit of a spoiler, but it's not a surprise that we are seeing different DC characters, and we happen to see a certain Amazon show up in this issue. I will not say anymore. I knew you figured it out. But it'll be an interesting to see where he's kind of placing, Diggle is placing all these DC characters in this theory, you know, or in this, you know, continuity of the Gotham by Gaslight universe. So that's really interesting. Like I said, I like the first issue, wasn't necessarily blown away, but I have to admit the second issue with the kind of the twist with all the other characters really, really intrigued me and really kind of impressed me to like, okay, this is not just going to retread the original Gotham by Gaslight. Fernandez's artwork is really, really nice. This is really a good book. Like I said, the first issue was good, but didn't necessarily, you know, blow me away. The second issue really, really set a really great tone for this book going forward. So I'm really excited about it. And it's well worth checking out this week. Next up, we have Transformers number 10, written by Daniel Warren Johnson with artwork by George Corona. So as much as I love this book, it's really hard to read because Daniel Warren Johnson is just beating the crap out of the Autobots. And the Decepticons kind of look like they're winning. It's really sad. It's tough because, you know, once again, it's not that the bad guys are going to win. I know that they're not going to win, but it's hard when you see the heroes of the story kind of really get beat down, and it's really tough. And so in this issue, Beachcomber rescued Spike from Shockwave sent Decepticon to go get Spike for unknown reasons. We don't know why. But Beachcomber basically was stranded on the moon. He came back. He landed on an island and became, you know, kind of like he had discovered the Autobots, but decided to let them sleep, and, you know, because he knew Earth was very fragile. You know, and so there was, you know, so we kind of learned why Beachcomber is kind of like, you know, the pacifist in a way. But really the big thing is that we learn that Shockwave, what his real plan is, it's not just to get Energon, but to basically suck the life out of Earth. It's pretty messed up, and I'm not going to really, it's just visually, it's really messed up. But once again, I love this book to death, but it's just really hard seeing the good guys not winning so much. So Daniel, hopefully you'll get going on that. I know we will, but I think it's good because it really, I think the really reason why this book is doing so well and why I love it, it's that emotional attachment you have to these characters, and which is really unusual because, like, I like Transformers, but I was never like a huge Transformers fan. But you know, Daniel Warren Johnson's really found a great way to give these, you know, give them great characters and stories and everything, and that's why it's working so well. And then Corona's artwork, you know, once again, he's kind of keeping it in that Daniel Warren Johnson style to, you know, keep visual continuity, but it's still very much his. It's just a really great looking book with a great story. The only downside I can say of this is that we have to wait 30 days for each issue, and that's just, it's really tough because this book is that good. I know the trade's available for the first 6 issues. Definitely just run out and buy that, and you'll see why this book is so good and has done so well. Next up, we have Man's Best, number 4, written by Pornsak Pichot, with artwork by Jesse Lonergan. So this is another one where I kind of, you know, missed it, but I did want to catch up with it. So we have Porthos, he's the bigger dog. Then we have Lovey, who's the bulldog. And then we have Athos, the cat. So they're looking for their master because the ship has crashed on this planet. And it kind of has, like, the best way to describe it's like there's different doors to parts of this world. Not dimensions, but different parts of this world. And so the three, you know, kind of the 3 musketeers have been looking. And so they finally, because Porthos is able to catch the scent of their master and also the person who took them. So they get really close this time, and they find the creature that has taken her. And you know, and so, you know, also along the way, we really learn about Lovey's story about how he was abandoned multiple times. You know, the other 2 actually always had a family where Lovey didn't. And so that really kind of changes the relationship a little bit between the 3. And without spoiling anything, we do find the scientist, the master. But there's something going on, something dark. So, you know, I don't want to say any more, but there was a big twist at the end of this issue. I'm really digging this book a lot. It's gone in a very different direction than I would have thought. And Pornsak Pichot, the story's really good. He's doing a great job in the story. And then Jesse Lonergan, his artwork is just really top-notch here. It kind of has a bit of a storybook type feel, which I think really fits it. You know, especially with the animals, they kind of have a bit of a storybook feel, and I think once again it really fits the story. So I'm really liking this. It'll be interesting to see with the finale, which is the next issue, where it kind of lands, because there was a lot that happened in this issue, and it's definitely still worth picking up. Hopefully you can still find the first 4 issues at your local comic shop, but definitely well worth checking out. Next up, we have Precious Metal, number 1, written by Darcy Van Polgeist, with artwork by Ian Bertram. So this one, so we have Max, who is looking for the chosen boy. And so him and Alana basically are, going to rescue him from the Temple of 12. They've kidnapped him. But what we really kind of learn, and there's that going on, but we kind of learn about Max's backstory of how, him and Naomi, they had a child. He doesn't, he knows about the child, but he doesn't kind of know where it is, and Naomi's hiding the child from him. We're not quite sure why. We don't know kind of what's going on in that situation, but there's something going on. And then, so there's also the rescue, that, you know, kind of, it works, but it kind of doesn't work. And I don't want to really say anymore. I do not want to give that away because it's a great twist in the story. And also there's something that's happening with Naomi that really will, I think, really change this story. This is the same team that did Little Bird, and if you've never read Little Bird, go out and just buy Little Bird. It's that good. Now, this story takes place in the same universe, but it does definitely stand on its own, so you don't have to have read Little Bird to have read this. But, you know, once again, if you're reading this and you haven't read Little Bird, definitely go pick that up. But I really like what Polgeist is doing with the story and everything, and how, you know, the first issue kind of set things up with Max, but now we're kind of learning about Max and you know, kind of his past and everything. And then Bertram's artwork. This is a gorgeous looking book. It's really just flat out just gorgeous. I really like it. It's well worth checking out. Hopefully you still find the first issue and pick them both up, but it really is intriguing. Very kind of if you're a fan of like heavy metal, that it kind of to me fits into that kind of universe, or, you know, kind of feel very kind of European and stuff in that respect, but it's really good stuff. And finally this week, Aint No Grave #3, written by Scotty Young with artwork by George Corona. It's always funny how both Transformers and Aint No Grave come out the same week. It's always kind of weird. So Ryder, who is dying of cancer, is basically going to confront death, or, you know, the Grim Reaper, so she doesn't have to die, because she wants to, you know, still be around for her little girl and her husband. So that's the basic premise here. So in this issue, she ends up on Madam Gates' riverboat, and so to get off the boat to get where she's going, she has to play poker with her. And it's really interesting how Ryder plays poker. We have a flashback of how she saved the farm by playing poker. And it's really interesting. This, you know, it's kind of like the riverboat, in some ways, like on the river Styx. So it's very interesting, to say the least. There's a lot going on. I don't want to really spoil anything, but this book is really quite surprising. I mean, Scotty Young and George Corona have done books before, but this is really an interesting twist on, I think the you know, hell thing, death and stuff like that. That's what I really like what Young is doing here with this book. It's really a different approach to that kind of mythology. And then Corona's artwork is just gorgeous. It's really a great looking book. The story's really intriguing. It's really good stuff. I'm really digging this. That's going to do it this week. It's a big week. Like I said, sorry for, you know, missing some books from the previous week, but tried to catch them up. Just again, to let everybody know, and not next week, but the week after that is San Diego Comic-Con. I will be there, so there'll be no reviews this week. Hopefully I'll be able to record some panels and stuff for everybody to see. Fingers crossed that, you know, like I said, I've got this microphone and hopefully it'll all work out. You know, that I can record it just on the iPhone, so it hopefully will work. And hopefully I'll get some of the WonderCon stuff up. I know, it's just tough. But just letting everybody know about WonderCon. But as always, shout out to my comic shop, Pulp Fiction Comics, Long Beach, California. Ryan Skinner, the owner, runs a great store. There's Annie, there's Wendy, there's Derek, runs their socials. It's a really great comic store. They have a great pull service. If you order, I believe it's like $10 a month, you get a discount on your monthly books. He offers discounts on trades and graphic novels every day. They have a great manga selection. Annie curates their manga selection. It's really, really nice. He has a great all ages section. And he's really building up the store with different sections. Like he recently had the Pride event that he had, and he's really been building up, you know, like books for the LGBTQ community by creators and stories about the community. It's really a great shop. If you're in the Long Beach area in California, definitely swing by and check out Ryan's store. It's a really nice, good comic shop. And as always, support your local comic shop, the real backbone of the industry. And, you know, and make sure you pick up your stuff if you pre-order it. But, like, you know, really support your comic shop. Like I said, they are really the working of the industry. And as always, we end our show with be kind to each other, be kind to yourself. Take care of yourselves. It's really important. I know the world's crazy now. There's all sorts of stuff going on, but, you know, being kind doesn't cost anything. And it's really just good to be kind. And also, please take care of yourself. Be kind to yourself. You know, I know times are tough. You know, people, jobs are tough. The job market's tough and everything. And I know money's tight for everyone. But just take care of yourselves. You know, just do little things for yourself. You know, just watch a movie, read comics, you know, just try to forget about, you know, all the craziness in the world, you know, and that'll hopefully, you know, help you get through the day. That's going to do it. Thanks for watching. As always, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please share the show. Thanks for all the great comments. We've gotten a lot of new viewers, so I appreciate you jumping on. And like I said, if you have any comments, just leave comments below, and like and share my YouTube channel. As always, thanks for watching. This is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com signing off. We'll see you next week. Have a great week. Bye-bye.